Hi everybody, Dr. Debunk here doing another video. This is today going to be a react video, and what that means is it's a reaction to something published. And these are usually negative. I usually do these and take apart some stupid thing, article or discussion about some health topic that's just ridiculous, and I take it apart. But I'm going to start doing react videos to the Epoch Times newspaper. For those of you that don't know, the Epoch Times, or Epoch, but I think they say it Epoch Times. It's a national newspaper that comes out once a week. It's really great. I love it. Yes, it's very conservative, but they have some liberal people on there. I think I've mentioned it, but they have a section every week called Mind and Body, and I really like it. It's really good. They do their homework. They get 80+% of it right. They miss things, though. I mean, they get all kinds of different experts or people that they're interviewing to do these articles. And it's good. I mean, it really is good. I'm actually in the process of contacting them. I'm going to start bugging them because they really need to interview me because the perspective I have is very helpful. And that's what I'm doing today. This is an article they did I'm going to react to. And it's titled, ready? Exposing the Mysteries of Heart Disease. And so it's about cholesterol. And I realized, I haven't talked about it in a long time, but this whole high cholesterol thing and taking statin drugs, it's one of the most abusive areas of medicine. You can effectively argue with the medical evidence that probably 80% of the people on cholesterol meds should not be on them. Statins, these statin drugs, they have so many bad side effects when you take them long term. Are there people that need them? Yes, but that population is very small. But should you be on a cholesterol med just because your cholesterol is above 190? It used to be 200. Now they're saying 190. No, it's psycho. I don't care if your cholesterol is 250. I don't care if it's 280. The number almost doesn't matter. Maybe above 300. But, they don't mention Epoch Times, but you look at population groups. You look at people from Northern Europe, people from Iceland, Greenland, Scandinavia, even Scotland, Ireland, Eskimos. Their entire lives, their cholesterols are 250 and higher. And they have less heart attacks and strokes overall than the so-called Americans, people with cholesterols that are way lower. So why? If high cholesterol is the main cause of heart attacks and strokes and plugging your arteries, why do those numbers exist? Because cholesterol is irrelevant. For non-diseased people, you got to hear what I'm saying, non-diseased people, your cholesterol number is irrelevant, the total cholesterol. And even the ratio of HDL, LDL is being brought into question now. That seemed to be a correlation. But see, here's the problem. The studies that suggest cholesterol is the main culprit, the original studies, when you go back and look, it doesn't show that at all. This is all crap. This was a learning thing we did from the 1960s forward. But in the end, it goes like this. The culprit is LDL cholesterol, the bad one, which is a term invented by the drug companies. There's no such thing as bad cholesterol. We use cholesterol for a lot of things. It is an essential component to building cell walls. We have 40 trillion cells in our body, so we need cholesterol, and LDL is part of that. We build hormones from, not all of them, but many. And there's some other functions that are critical. So lowering cholesterol the way we've done with these statin drugs is catastrophic for your health. And anyway, so this article is really good. It goes into let me get it open here, all the stuff. And I just want to comment about some of the stuff that they miss. They really, where'd it go? Hold on. Where'd my paper go? I wrote some notes. Here we go. Some of it they miss. And so, I wanted to comment on that stuff. But basically, the article says, and this is where they're wrong, that they call it the mysteries of heart disease, and there's no mystery. There's a lot of blanks, but how does high cholesterol cause plaquing of your arteries? Plugs. It doesn't. What causes plaquing of your arteries? Blood clots that break off and go into your brain and give a stroke, go into your heart and cause a heart attack, go into other organs. Well, what forms clots? Well, they act like it's a mystery. No, it's not. It's 100% settled. All the different causative factors are debatable. But the cause of hardening of the arteries and blood clots, resultant clot formation, emboli, all these terms, is vasculitis. It's inflammation of your blood vessels. Chronic inflammation is what causes plaques. Period. 100%. But what causes chronic inflammation? Now that's complex and vast, and 10, 20 lifestyle factors play a role in how much inflammation is in your blood vessels. The inflammation of your body organs aggravates the inflammation of all blood vessels. And they don't really get into that. They talk about things, and I'm surprised because whoever wrote this article, they really don't get it. Who did this? Not to Emma somebody or other, health researcher. Well, Emma, you really need to understand vasculitis. You really need to understand that because you're missing the importance of it. And she talks about all these things, how the lining is protected by this glycocalyx covering and blah, blah, blah. And it's all correct. It's all correct. But the mystery of why we're losing this protective covering and then that starts a clot formation, it's not a mystery. It's all the factors that cause uncontrolled, unrelenting inflammation. And I did that already. And look at my other video on explaining chronic inflammation. Chronic inflammation drives all disease, period. It is 50 to 100% of the causative factors that drive any disease you want to talk about. So anyway, the article is really good, but it misses that important point. And I just really wanted to bring that out. Anything else here? That heart attacks and strokes are huge. And I just mentioned that in this video that's going to come out with this one about the hurricane is coming. That's the title of the other video. And that talks about heart attacks and strokes and cancer and how someday you're going to go see your doctor. And he's going to give you the bad news. That's a hurricane. And watch that one. It'll come out the same day this one does, tomorrow or the next day. Anyway, I just want to reiterate then, since playing on this article, it's really good and you should read it. But here's the bottom line. Cholesterol is not bad. The total cholesterol, if it's under 300, really doesn't matter. That's not true. What matters is the vascular status of your blood vessels. And we have a massive amount. We have 100 billion terminal capillary beds. We have 100 billion roads or blood vessels in our body. It's huge. And all of them are being inflamed at different rates. And so the causes of that, and that's the other video talks about that, but I talk about it in other videos. But cholesterol, LDL, the evidence that LDL cholesterol is the main component that causes plaques to be built, maybe it's true. I've been wanting to look a long time. So you got to go back to the original studies. You got to go back to 60s, 70s and look at what they did. And they make all these assumptions, and those assumptions then become hard in fact, and they're not at all. But I doubt if there's any really hard evidence that LDL cholesterol is the main culprit at all, that it's just one of many, and that whether the amount of LDL in your blood doesn't matter at all. What matters is the inflammation there. It's like building a house. You can put all the materials on the property to build a house, but if the carpenters don't show up, nothing gets built. So how much LDL runs around in your blood is irrelevant unless you have inflammation of the arteries, which will build the plaques out of LDL. And so even if LDL is the main culprit, it doesn't matter. And that's why 25-year-old Scandinavians who are in excellent health, they're marathoners, whatever, their LDL is 250, 260. So what? Because if that was the main thing, why aren't we seeing this much higher rate of heart attacks in younger people from Northern Europe? We don't. So it's not bad. What's bad is these statin drugs that you shouldn't be taking that basically destroy your ability to have healthy cell walls. Well, if you don't have healthy cell walls, you know what you're going to succumb to? The pollution theory of aging. I'm sorry, not the pollution, the leaking theory of aging. And if you haven't looked yet at some of my other ones, I'm going through the 10 theories, the 10 major concepts that determine the speed of aging and the speed of your predisposition to disease. And I've done 3, maybe. I need to get back to that. But one of them is the pollution theory. I'm sorry, I keep saying that. The leaking theory of aging. It's called the permeability theory of aging. That's a scientific term. And that basically says the rate at which you're leaking is the rate at which you're going to age and die. Because when you get older and you become an old fart like me, you start to realize, oh, I'm going to start leaking out of every hole in my body. But that's not the problem. The problem is our cells are leaking. And our cells are leaking in part because why? Because the cell membranes are screwed up. And what's the major component in cell membranes? Triglycerides and cholesterol. But the drug companies would have us eat their ridiculous statin drugs and destroy our ability to have healthy cell membranes. And so you're going to leak in and out. You'll leak in bad stuff and leak out good stuff. And I'm getting there, but the leaking, the permeability theory of aging is complex, and I haven't figured out how to do that yet for all of you, but I'm sneaking up on it. Anyway, so you really need to get a number of medical opinions and do your own education on whether you should be on a statin. Because if you go to your doctor's office and your cholesterol is 200 or more now, they're going to try to shove a pill down your throat. And you are a fool if you don't educate yourself and understand what you are doing. And there is plenty out there. I mean, they talk about this doctor here, who sounds great. I guess the British Medical Journal surprisingly did this major analysis and review and showed that it's really not good what we're doing with statin drugs and there's problems. And one of the authors, Malhotra, I don't even know how to say the name, he wrote a book called The Statin Free Life, and it sounds really good, but there's a bunch of them out there. But you got to do your homework. As I've said before, and I say it again, the day is over if you're going to blindly trust your doctor. Don't believe me at face value. Go see if what I'm telling you can be validated by scientific studies and other professionals. Anyway, but it should concern you that the statin industry is a $15 billion cash cow for the drug companies. It should concern you that 90% of all money to fund medical studies comes from the drug companies, whether the study's on a drug or not. These things should concern you. And as I've said before, it should concern you that the actual behavior of the FDA and the CDC, their behavior, the evidence is what they actually do. In other words, what is the true function of the FDA and the CDC? By their behavior, what they do, they are fully and ultimately controlled by the drug companies. They work for the drug companies to work for the interests of them. They do not work for the interests of the United States people or people of the world. They're working to make sure the interests of the drug companies are maintained. And then you can interpret correctly what they do and why they do it. And this example, this cholesterol statin stuff, it's more evident there than anything else because of that. Money, money, money. So that's pretty much it. I wanted to also mention quickly, since it's only 14 minutes, which is short for me, acetaminophen is bad news. I don't know if I've done this or not in other videos, but acetaminophen as a drug has one purpose, and that one purpose is to lower body temperature. It is not a pain reliever. I haven't looked in many years, but there are no studies objectively done that show acetaminophen lowers or affects pain. It has no way to affect pain at all. The effect you get if you take acetaminophen and you think your headache is better, it's psychosomatic. It's in your head. The reason ibuprofen and naproxen and all the other anti-inflammatories, non-steroidal anti-inflammatories work is because they affect inflammatory reactions, and acute pain in part is an inflammatory reaction. So if you reduce acute inflammation, you reduce the pain a little. That's how they work. Acetaminophen is not an anti-inflammatory at all. It has no ability to reduce pain. It's fake, but what it is more liver toxic than they're letting on. And the earlier work a long time ago on acetaminophen showed liver toxicity. And I've seen a couple of these in my career. 2 young men, one and especially, he took how much? 3,000 or so milligrams of acetaminophen a day, which is more than they recommend. But they say you can take 2,000 a day, even more actually, I think. 500 milligrams every 4 hours. He did it for about 6 weeks, and it almost killed his liver, destroyed him. Now, it's true, every drug, if you have a problem metabolizing it, can mess you up. But when the work 20 years ago, 20, 25 years, when I looked at all the studies, acetaminophen is far worse than ibuprofen or naproxen sodium or the other anti-inflammatories. But yet today, you're always told, oh, ibuprofen's bad, 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 bad. And it is. But what's worse is taking a useless drug for pain, acetaminophen, when it doesn't do anything. At least ibuprofen and all the other non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. We got like 20 prescription ones, and then ibuprofen and naproxen are the 2 over-the-counter ones. But even aspirin works similarly, is better. You'll get some relief. And if it's intermittent use, as I've said before, I'm not against drugs intermittently, but using a drug to fix a problem when you can fix it with your lifestyle is inappropriate. And so they were doing an article here about acetaminophen, and it's not exactly a positive article, E18, but I've seen far more issues in my career. Anyway, that's it. I'm Dr. Debunk. If you, I guess I didn't summarize. For acetaminophen, if you have a high temperature, if your kids are really hot, 105, yeah, Tylenol, acetaminophen is great. But pain relief, no. And I've said that, but I'll say it again. How did acetaminophen begin to be used for pain then? Because if you're a mom and your kid's 105, they're in pain. At 105, it hurts. It hurts. So if you take a bunch of acetaminophen, it will lower the body temperature, and you get them down to 101, which is nothing for a kid. They don't hurt anymore. So that makes it a pain reliever. It relieves the pain from a high fever, but it doesn't relieve the pain of anything else. But clever marketing for 25 years at least. Oh, it's magical pain reliever. And so it's, again, follow the money. It's always money. So that's it. I'm Dr. Debunk, and this has been a react video in a good way. And I'm going to be doing more of these every week or 2. I will react to something Epoch Times does. And so far, I really haven't seen anything they've ever put in here that was just outright wrong. It's mostly right and good, and I'm just going to kind of fill in the blanks as best I can. But if they ever put something stupid in here, I will tell you, because I don't own stock in Epoch Times. I just like reading newspapers, and there's nothing else I can read. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Turn it off.